I got in it right at the right time.
Yeah. All right. So, hi everyone. So, my name is Andrew. I'm going to do an interview with Thor. Right now, it's 9 o'clock in the Pacific time, which is 12 o'clock in the market. And the Thor is just showing me he's actually in a trade. He's in CGC. It seems that he went long. So, it seems that he went long at the VWAP, and now he's just hoping to get to the previous day close. And it's actually a very nice trade from 38.50 all the way up to 39. So, good luck. So, I don't know. Thanks for taking the time to talking to us. So Thor has
Yeah,
been a
sure thing.
member with us. I don't know exactly how long. How long have you been with a member with us, Thor?
So I've actually been with Bearable Traders almost for a year now. I got in actually after I found your book, like a lot of the folks. I had a little market experience before, actually on the server side of things. I was a technician for an options trading platform. So I worked on the server side for an options trading platform, which, didn't help me a lot on then, but I knew I didn't want to do options
Yeah.
by working there. So, and then I started looking for stocks, and then I went on there. Your book had a lot of reviews, and I read the preamble, and the one thing I liked about the preamble was this is not a get-rich scheme. This is you're going to read this book, and by the end, the only thing you will know is probably whether or not you want to be a trader.
Yeah.
And that was really important to me to see the honesty, and then the rest just kind of started to evolve.
Yeah, that's exactly the point of my book. I really wanted to people see if they want to be a trader or not. That was pretty much the main thing. So Thor, how was your journey as a trader? What did you have any experience before that, or how was it? Can you tell us a little bit? Because
Yeah.
based on my experience, it seems that you've been very consistent. I don't have the exact number of your trading, but based on the recaps and based on your activity, it seems that you really how to trade and have
Yeah.
been very consistent. So I was wondering maybe this sharing your experience can encourage other people, inspire other people, maybe be someone can learn something from your experience.
Sure, absolutely. I should not say this because it will end tomorrow because I'm saying it, but I'm actually on a 6 week green streak. So I have not had a red day in 6 weeks. So not that every day has been like a you know $400-$500 big winner day, but I'm still I think my worst day was about $40. I had like a $40 day about a month and a half ago. So building consistency has been the main focus for me.
Sorry, I was on mute. I was just going to say that's very very impressive. I congratulate you, especially the time that everyone is saying that right now the market is really choppy and there's not a lot going on. I personally don't believe that summer times are really difficult to trade, but a lot of people have this myth that the summer times are really difficult.
Well, I
But
think
we
for certain
congratulate. Yeah.
strategies, it can certainly be harder. I think a lot of us, especially myself, are very impressed at how intuitive your ability is to trade the opening ranges and how you can really just, I mean, it's really impressive, but I find myself, I get chopped up in the opening ranges altogether, so I don't even trade for the first 15 minutes. So I'm normally dropping off kids anyway, so I normally don't even sit down until after the market's open. But I still watch the YouTube stream, or I'll watch it through the chat as I'm dropping things off. So by the time I sit down, I already know what my watch list is. I already know what stocks I'm looking for, and then it's just scanning through and finding my setup. And I'm very regimented about my setups. I'll only take very specific ones that I really like, and when I don't, I tend to get punished. So it's that's a big part of me for building the consistency has. And I think I forget which chapter it was in the book, but it was develop a rule and a strategy and then stick to that strategy. And then if your strategy is not working, change the strategy, and then try that strategy and see if it works. And then once you find one that works, don't change it, you know. So, and that was a big thing I did. And then, slow live trading and scaling, went from very little shares live and then just slowly built up.
All right. Yeah. So you just mentioned that you developed a strategy for yourself, and that strategy is pretty much working for you, which I love that. And what is the strategy that is working for you? I know you are not trading at the open in the first 5 minutes, which is the mess, and because you're dropping the kids apparently at that time.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
and
absolutely. I'm generically dropping. I generically don't trade the first 15. because I'm normally out and about running around doing things. It's one of the few downsides to being on the East Coast is you got a lot going on at that time. But mainly my main strategy that I use is I've kind of been doing it on my recaps, which is what I call my wedge strategy. Really, the wedge strategy for all of those who are really looking and trying to figure out, it's really just kind of a glorified ABCD pattern. It goes up, it has a top, and it fails off of it. It comes down, and then it comes back up. The only difference is I rather than trying to get it on the way up, I generically get it once it reaches the top of, like if it was an opening range breakout, I want to see it come back up to the top of that opening range, test that. Once it tests it, I feel like it's strong. Then I'll take my entry in it, and then ride it from there. If it pulls back off of it, as long as it's touching it, and for me, it's to the penny. I have this whole to the penny thing. I like to see it hitting that same exact, 48.01. It needs to be that, and the price action needs to keep hitting that mark. And then generically, and my success rate seems to be decent on it, it tends to roll right through it once you get to that point.
Yeah,
So
for example,
it works for me.
yeah, no, that's great. I mean, wedge, for example, is something that I never traded and I never teach because I just don't believe into the, these trade lines. But pretty much it's same. I know about the strategy, but pretty much it's the same ABCD pattern.
Yeah,
Glorified
exactly.
ABCD pattern. You just show CGC, and I think that was a wedge. I mean, the breakout of the wedge that you
Right.
just show. Yeah. And I was wondering if I know you do a lot of recaps for us, and I know it takes time, and I know it really comes from a commitment to giving back to the community the way you're doing. But I was wondering if you can make a maybe 5-6 minutes video of your strategy, maybe in a
Yeah.
PowerPoint, and plot up, a couple of screenshots from the past, so we can actually add it into our education center. Not a
Sure.
recap because people don't watch recaps a lot, but if you put it in education center forever, people can come and see that strategy. And maybe I myself will start trading it. So I just wanted to, if you put a little bit of time, so give back to the community. I
Absolutely.
really
Yeah,
appreciate
I'd
that.
love to. I'd love to. Not only do I like giving back to you guys because y'all have helped me out so much, but it helps me understand my own strategy that much better by putting it to paper. You get to analyze it and really see what you're doing, and it just helps. I'm sure after you wrote your book, you probably went back and said, "Wow, I feel so much more knowledgeable at this now that I actually took the time to put it all on paper." So
Exactly. And the second book that I wrote, because I myself was thinking that there is a need for me to put my thoughts in a better better in a different book, so I have more strategies, more examples, more risk management stuff. I agree, when you teach, you really learn it better by yourself as well.
no, for sure.
So Thor, what was the moment, the aha moment for you in trading? What really changed your trading? Because a lot of traders, new traders, are struggling. A lot of them wondering, questioning about themselves or even the market, or they think that day trading is impossible. What was the thing that you changed your trading?
So I initially started out executing through CMEG just to kind of start building my account to really get some experience without the risk of, throwing in the 25 or 30 grand to hit the PDT. And when I started there, CMEG forced me, their commission structuring and ticket prices are a little different. So it really forced me to become a good trader because, right now I'm with IB now. And I get into a good trade. I call it coming out of it aggressively, partialing aggressively is what I call it, every 5 cents. You take 2,000 shares and every 5 cents, just bam, 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 bam. You can just get out of it and make good money, and it's awesome. But when I was with CMAG, each one of those hits cost you $5, by the time you're done. So it really forces you to say, this has to be a good trade. I have to be patient. I have to work for it. And I struggled there for a little while, really like, man, is this going to work for me? And then I actually was working with a couple of guys. One thing, just to throw a plug in because I can, one thing I really like about Bear Bull Traders is the collaborative effort of the guys inside the chat. So I was really struggling a little bit and trying to find my pattern, what really, really works for me. I was getting chopped out in the opening ranges a lot. And then I saw a video by Kurt, which is one of our other guys that post a lot of recaps, and his talked about trend trading and using the 5-minute chart more and doing this. And I was like, well, that sounds more interesting. And at the same time, I was reading Brian's swing trading book. And a lot of those things seemed to line up for me. So, and I started looking at it, I said, okay, this makes sense. So I started doing more longer term trades, thinking more on the macro than the micro, if you will, in those minutes. And then it kind of started to click for me. Okay, this works. And then I transferred over to IB. I think I was week 1 at IB. And I used that technique, got in there, got on my trade, and I just caught this great pop. And I was just like, all right, yeah, I'm in. This is going to happen. I can do this. And it was after some really serious collaborative effort with a lot of the guys I've had individual conversations with: William, Brian, Norm, Peter, bunch of guys like Eamon, Kurt, Lee. I mean, I could sit here for probably about 5 minutes and name the different traders that I've individually worked that have helped me. And then there's other guys in there like a newer trader named Sanji. I took 15 minutes yesterday and literally walked him through a whole, which he made money on, by the way, walked him through an entire wedge trade from start to finish, including the exit and how to judge his exit. So he's like, oh man, I see it so much better. I just needed someone to do that. And I was like, that's good, because someone took the time to take that mentorship moment for me, and kind of show me a couple things. And that was a lot Kurt. And then a lot of collaborative effort with my buddy Eamon has really dialed it out. Eamon and I together have really kind of dialed in my wedge strategy that I use on a daily basis now, because he tested it a lot for me, and he really helped log hundreds of trades so that I could get the evidence I needed to prove that this really works to myself.
Very nice. No, I mean, so there are a couple of points that I learned. First of all, is because you started with a high price broker like CMEG. In those times, it was really expensive to trade on CMEG. Now
Right,
their
better deals
commission is
now.
much. Yeah, they're much better now because they reduced the
Yeah.
commission. But in those times, so you didn't get into the habit of overtrading, which I have.
And for the record, I love the broker, for the record. CMEG was a great broker. They were real good to me. So
Yeah, no, well, thank you for the
I'd
honest
still
opinion.
probably be trading there if their price structure had come out differently, like a month different.
Yeah, well, the good thing that is they offer 6-1 margin, which is very tempting.
Yeah, I know.
Because IB doesn't give you more than 3 to 4 margin. But anyway, so it seems that you didn't get into the habit of over trading, which is actually an amazing thing. I personally started with IB, and IB in Canada, you don't even need to have $25,000 because the PDT rule doesn't apply. So I got into the habit of over trading, and it kind of stays with me even to this. So that's one thing that I learned from you. The success comes from not over trading, and that's unfortunately it's a disadvantage in our community, because people will see me and then I have so many trades and so many tickets, and they think they should do the same. And but that's unfortunate. Another thing that I learned from your discussion was, being in touch with a group of traders, a community of traders, and this is something that I think it's very, very important. But not a lot of people pay, attention to the community aspect. They come into our community or other chat rooms. They just looking for trade tips and ideas, and they just mirror trade other people. But as just you mentioned, that you can learn from every single one of those guys. Like I learned from every single one of you guys, like you, Kurt, Robert, William. I mean, these 2-minute chart or in these Robert reversals, they're all I learned. I didn't know anything about those. So these are really great points, and I really appreciate you, bringing this up, because I think the community is something that you as a member have to take advantage of. The community has a lot to offer, but you also have to be open to, receiving all of this knowledge and help and, support from the community.
No, absolutely. I mean, that was the whole thing. Opportunities are what you make of them. You can't expect anyone just to give you an all-in-one. Here are all of the answers, because my experience, I found trading is subjective. Every person seems to have their own unique view of things, their own unique style of trading. So what I did is I looked around and I said, who's trading around here seems to fit more. I was saying it to you early before we started talking, or when we first got on, which was, I've never seen a group of people in a web thing that are so interested in helping everybody else out. I don't, in a non-monetarily, like everyone knows, if everyone else does better, then everyone else does better.
Yeah.
If these patterns work for you, then they're working for me. And the more we can refine those as a team, it's like everybody can do this together. And I think Bear Bull sets itself apart from maybe some of the overhyped machines, in the fact that it's, this is not easy. This is this is something that you're going to have to work at. But if you're willing to work, we got a lot of people who are here to help you.
Yeah.
And I took full advantage of it. Bear Bull's the only web chat I ever joined after reading your book. I've read your books plus Brian's, and then that with a little bit of experience from mine, like in a previous job doing server maintenance for an options trading platform. That's about all I had going into this when I first started. But it's been more than enough for me to build a pretty consistent daily income. So,
Well,
gotta love that.
that means a lot. Well, I really appreciate that the words that you're saying, and I really thank you to stay with us as an experienced trader who made it, and you are a part of our community. I know there's a lot of other communities, but the fact that you chose us and you stay with us, that means a lot. On behalf of the community, I really thank you for
Oh,
contributing.
yeah.
I know you're also really active in the
Yeah,
community.
yeah,
So,
I'm here to, I'm happy to help and
thanks.
benefit. I
So,
help and benefit at the same time. It's awesome.
I appreciate that. So, Thor, I have a question. What do you have to, a lot of people come and then struggle at the beginning, and then they're at the verge of giving up, or just keep trading. If someone comes to you and say, I have trouble, I can't become consistent, what are the advices that you give to them? Do you think when should they give up? What do what would you say if someone says, hey, I've been trading for 6 months and I'm not consistent? Do you have any advice or any tip to them?
I had someone from the chat actually message me privately asking this question. And so I'll just basically said what I said to them. In my idea, if it works with 10 shares, it works with 10,000 shares, right? It's just all about the psychology. And that's the hard part. And I think Bear Bull preaches that a lot. It's all about the psychology. So for me, for what I told him was specifically, you have to overcome that one aspect. But if you have 5 out of 6 trades every day that are working, then your strategy is working, so you should be okay. So what I told him is go back down to, I did very poorly in sim, because simulator for me was like a video game. There were no consequences. I could just trade however I wanted. It just didn't make a lot of sense. So, but when I went live at CMAG, like I said, it forced me to get real tight with everything. And that's what I told this guy was go back down to small shares so that you can take the psychology out of it, right? Because you're only going to lose like $40 a day or $50 a day. Even if you have a horrible blowout day, you'll only lose $50. Take some time, trade the small shares. If you can get to the point where you're doing, 5 out of 6, or 4 out of 6, whatever your margin you want to be, then bump it, a little bit. Yeah. See where you're at. Get used to it. And that's what I did when I went live, which was about probably about 9 months ago. The first 3 months of that was tiering, starting at 10 shares and 15 shares. And then I went to 20 and 30s, and then 50s and 100s, and 250s and 5. I mean, I've been, now my average share size is between 500 and 1,000. Nice. And that works quite well.
Yeah, there's a saying.
I don't know if I'll need to scale beyond that.
Yeah,
right
there's
now,
a saying that there's a saying in the trading community that they're saying that making $100 to $1,000 is really easy, but what is difficult is making $5 a day consistently. That thing is difficult, but after that, it's getting up. It's just exactly as you said.
So for me, it was taking the psychology out of it. That's the thing.
Do you trade penny stocks or low float stocks? What type of stocks are you trading?
Neither.
Yeah.
I imagine it was something that was covered during the morning preview one of the days, but I got, hold on one second. Sorry about this. I actually have to take a partial on CGC. It just hit $39, $40.
Can we see that? Can you just show that to us too with your camera?
Yeah.
So I got in real time.
I got in CGC like about a half hour before this started, and I didn't want to get out of it because it was going
very
good.
Nice.
So it just made a nice little ABCD back up to my level, and I was hoping for 40. So I just tagged 40. So
I do hope that you can actually do a recap for us on this. That's really that was nice.
What are you gonna do? But yeah, so good old CGC. I got it into a nice. Speaking of my wedges, I got into that off of a nice little wedge trade, and have managed to ride that one up to about to 40 now. So we'll take it.
So you said that you were saying about that you're not trading penny stocks or low float stocks because they're really difficult, and unfortunately there's a lot of buzz around them in the trading community. People love to trade them because all of the advertisement, I turn this into that, or all of these big numbers that you see everywhere, they are usually coming from penny stocks, but they're extremely difficult to trade. extremely difficult to manage the risk. I think, in my
Well,
opinion.
that's my thing, was the risk management, because that's my number one thing. I don't care about losing, but I have a very specific amount I'm okay with losing. And my whole thing that I do whenever I'm looking for any of my setups specifically is spread. I like 1 cent spreads. So and I prefer to stay in the, let's call it the $20, $25 up to about maybe $70 stock. Anything outside of that, like I rarely trade Apple or any of those bigger stocks, just because I don't, I could take 20 shares or something and manage $1 worth of moving around, or I can get into MU, for instance. I can take 1,000 or 2,000 shares with a 4 cent risk. I might lose 40 or $50, but my potential upside on that's 500 or 600.
Yeah.
So, and I can manage that a lot more effectively. So yeah, anything that's too spread or too high price, low floats and IPOs, I stay away from anything fancy. I'm gaining confidence every single day, but I am not there on those. I don't, if I can't read it and I don't feel real good about my setup, I don't do it in those things. I just watch them wick up and down and all over the place. I'm just like, somebody's making themselves an ulcer right now trying to trade this stock.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, Thor, there's a lot of things that we learn from you today. I just don't want this, interview to be very long. I know you are in the chat room, and people can reach out to you for sure. So I just wanted to really wrap up the conversation, because people tend to not watch long videos. So I just want to keep it under half an hour. I want to ask you if you have any, last, points, hints, comments for new traders about their path and how they can become successful. If there is anything that you want to tell them, please tell them. And also, please promise me one more time that you make a video, educational video about your wedge. Not a recap, but educational video, maybe a PowerPoint and some samples and stuff.
Absolutely.
So promise me that, and then so if you have anything to talk to any last word for traders who are interested to become like you, anything, feel free.
Yeah, sure. Basically, for me, to anybody who's looking to get into this thing, really all it is about is rules and following them. So I try to come in, make things real fancy. I'm really smart. One of the reasons I kind of put my wedge idea together is because I was having trouble identifying ABCD patterns appropriately. So it was just a cleaner way for me to do it. So for me, it's find what works for you and have reasonable expectations as well. Don't come into this thing. That's how the penny stock guys are going to get you, is they come in here saying you can take a $200 portfolio and turn it into $300,000 by next Wednesday. That stuff it doesn't happen. I mean, I guess it does, but it doesn't. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's the rest of us make money off of people doing that. So, for me, it's just come in and start small. And because the main thing you're going to have to overcome is the psychology of trading. And Andrew's books, which I highly recommend, I've read them both. They're the only trading books other than Michael Williams' Fundamentals of the Options Market, which I read back in like the 90s. All right. So other than that, these are, Andrew's and Brian's books are the only ones I've taken the time to read. But the main thing they stress out of all of those is just being realistic about trading. Start small, scale in, and, don't blow up your account. And I really believe if you loose enough trades into the market, at some point you will start to see what the market's doing. But you have to be able to hang in. And part of hanging in through that learning curve, like you said, it's hard to get to $100. But for some reason, once you get to $100, it seems like a lot easier to get to 200 and 300. And the reason is that, you finally crested through that ramp-up period. But it's a hard process to get through there. So don't do this thinking it's not. It is. But if you start small and get in a good community like Bear Bull Traders, where people are actually here to support and help their other traders, not just looking to step on them and make money off of them, I really think anybody can be successful.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Thanks for mentioning my book and our community. But the purpose of this video was not really advertisement, but I really appreciate the honest opinion.
Sure.
And yeah, so these are great. I mean, I agree. It will come to you. You just have to, survive the game. I mean, like, remember the first time that people started driving, it was terrifying. I mean, driving all of this stuff, and But now people, when they drive, is all muscle memory. There's no effort. It's just effortless driving. And trading is like that. At the beginning, it's terrifying. But if you manage your risk, if you go small, if you don't blow up your account in the first week, it will come to you, hopefully. But you just have to survive in the game. That resilience and that persistence really would pay off. Exactly like driving at the beginning. It was just how now it's so effortless for everyone who's a driver. So having said
Absolutely,
that,
man.
Thor, yeah, well, I really appreciate that. Again, I mean, I love to have the conversation with you longer, but based on our analytics and YouTube, people don't
Yeah.
really watch long videos.
Yeah.
Everyone is
Sure.
busy
Well,
and distracted.
before you let me roll out of here, I do just want to say from me to you just to thank you for putting this whole thing together, because I don't believe I would have been as successful without what you put forward. And I have a daughter who has nonverbal autism, so not a lot of people know that. So my schedule with my kids is very difficult and very all over the place, and I have to be available. So finding a career that I could get into that allows me to generate the money I need for them, but not be strapped, to my desk every 5 seconds of every single day. It's not only invaluable; it was life changing, maybe even life saving in some areas. So I came through tech, really struggled professionally. I mean, I got up in the high levels, but 70 hours a week, 75 hours a week, busting, schmoozing, going to event corporate stuff. It's just so much effort and work, and then you find out you've got better priorities, which is your family, and then it's like, how do I still do this? And Bear Bull provided that for me. So I just wanted to, heartfelt from me to you guys, thank you very much for what you've put in place, and thanks for having me on for the interview. It meant a lot to me to be asked, so I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. That means a lot. And I really, really am humbled and privileged. I really appreciate that. But it's all on you. I mean, this is what you've done, and you have to be proud of yourself, and
Sure.
you're proud of your family who supported you in that. Having
It's a
said
collaborative
that,
effort, man.
yeah. Having said that, thank you very much, Thor. And I'm going to talk to you soon and hopefully see a video from you. And guys, this is Andrew from Bear Bull Traders, and this is Thor, one of our members who've been with us for about a year, and he was just sharing. And if you're part of the community, Thor is a very approachable person. Private message him or in forum, or be in touch with him, pick up his brain. And
Anytime.
yeah. All right. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye.